An overflowing lessons we have one for our daily verse. We are now at Exodus chapter 21 from verse 12 up to verse 17. That is the punishment for murder. But if you did not intend to kill anyone, I, the Lord, let it happen anyway. You may run to safety to a place I have set aside. If you plan in advance to murder someone, there's no escape, not even by holding on to my altars. You will be dragged off and killed. That is the punishment for attacking your father or mother. That is the punishment for kidnapping. If you sell the person you kidnap, or if you are caught with that person, that penalty is death. That is the punishment for cursing your father or mother. So this passage talks about the death penalty for some actions you have taken or for some crimes you have taken. But let us remember that death penalty or this passage only applies to those Israelites. Because nowadays, let us realize that every country here on earth have their own rule and law to follow. Maybe some country is still using that penalty, but here in the Philippines, we don't have that penalty. Or we don't use that penalty. But in other countries, they still do the death penalty. Let us remember that if you read something in the Bible, you don't necessarily mean it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to do it as is. Example, if you interpret that passage that it is punishable by death with those certain actions, then tendency is that you might be a criminal yourself. So be careful. So let's use our discernment. Okay? So let us remember that it is applicable only to the old world Israelites, the Old Testament Israelites, but not on our generation. Not on it is not applicable in our today's world. And maybe, just maybe, God allow us to realize that in the old world it is so harsh and the penalty is death. But God is so gracious that nowadays, no, here at the Philippines, especially here at the Philippines, we don't have the death penalty. Let's say it's the grace of God, but it doesn't mean that you will be free from the consequence of whatever wrong you have done or whatever crime you have done. There will still be punishment and consequence and maybe even jail time, but not death penalty. So let us realize that the absence of the death penalty nowadays is the will of God for us to repent